Pop in, say hi. If you've never come into one of my lives before, hi, I'm Cindy. I explore the inside and the outside. Sunday nights is kind of special moment, special hour and a half of my week. And it's a time that I get together with the people that kind of been following me along as I move along. And I am so grateful for that company. I really am. I have a really dedicated crew. I'm very grateful, very privileged, I do believe, I get to have a little bit of a community of my own. And here on Sunday nights, we keep it light. If you do hang out with me, right? My Monday to Fridays can get a little bit heavy. I do explore the inside and the outside. September, we are working on a trip, but in this moment, I find my life, like lots of people, in a little bit of a mix up, a little bit of a variety, a little bit of a feels like a race sometimes, a lot of it unexpected. But that's what life is. Life is what happens to us while we're making other plans. And that's for each and every one of us, right? We got a little bit of a wrench put into our lives, into my family's lives this week. But at the same time, you got to look at it as a gift. You have to look at things as an opportunity. We all figure sometimes that we are smarter than what's going on in the world and the intent of the world. And we can, right, do a little bit of fortune telling, and we can, right, put ourselves into a hairy, scary state over nothing, right? But at the same time, we can get all excited about amazing things going on in our life. And you never know what wrench is going to get thrown into it and just mess up the whole game. We talked a little bit about that during the course of the week. I kind of did the analogy of the Monopoly game that the family sits around the table and plays, right? If you had game night in your household and one person gets ticked off and they pick up the whole game and all the hotels and all the little game pieces and money and just throws it up to the air and just doesn't ruin the game for themselves, ruins the game for everybody else. And it just doesn't ruin the fun of it. It also doesn't show us well either. It shows that we still have work to do, that we have a not so much self-control than what we thought. Hello, Andrew. Welcome. Sunday night. I just got out of the shower. I've got my hair squeegee. Tonight, I just got to wait for it to just dry a little bit before I tie it up. Otherwise, my my fragile hair will just break off in the hair scrunchie. And that comes from decades. I'm telling you, decades of coloring my hair. I have colored my hair pretty much every 6 weeks since I was 16 years old. And that's a truth. And I find like it is fairly long, but what is actually long is only this much, right? The rest of it is just all broken off. So you can tell how much hair I've actually lost in the span of coloring my hair all those decades. I have stopped coloring my hair. It has been, 3.5 months, almost 4 months. I've decided that, I'm only going to do it one more time. And that one more time might not be for another year or so, because I've really got to let my hair grow out a little bit, take care of it, see how much of it we can actually save, because I want to get a pencil perm. It's a African ladies' hairstyle, but they're so beautiful. And they're like curls that are wrapped around a pencil and they're like this. And I just want to have a nice perm. My hair holds perms very, very well. At least it did. I haven't had a perm since I was a teenager, but they would just last forever because it would just train my hair to grow that way. I have very curly hair, but again, from dyeing my hair all these decades, it has become a little bit of a frizz ball. And that's what I'm doing. I'm growing out my hair a little bit. It grows awfully fast. I can see I've got almost 2 inches of hair growth coming out. I'm very, very surprised that it's growing out the color that it is. I do see the pepper in it, the silver mixed in with that darkness. But I really didn't think that it was going to grow in dark. I didn't realize that my blonde hair was actually really quite a ruddy blonde. They called it dirty blonde, and it's why I like that suntan. They call it suntan blonde, that beach blonde. That's what they call it, the yellow blonde. I had a very disappointing experience with a hairdresser about 20 years ago, maybe a little bit more than 20 years ago. My sister has very fancy, she's very well to do. She has fancy hairdressers that cost lots of money. It was something that I could never afford. But this one time I decided I was going to go for a very expensive hair color. I wanted to go platinum blonde, which is that white color. And my hair turned out kind of a yellowish color with bright reddish yellow streaks for it. And she actually, the hairdresser, tried to talk me into the fact that I was seeing things. And in that disappointment of that haircut and hair color, I never went back to the hairdressers again. It's been over 20 years since I have seen a hairdresser. I just color my hair myself and just let it grow, knowing that I fry the hair and it's just going to fall out on its own naturally. But I thought I would give it one more try, one more hurrah before I right, get mature. And I actually do have silver or gray or salt and pepper colored hair that I thought I might get a hair color. I would like a periwinkle color, which is kind of a purpley pink blue color, and then pink underneath, and then just let it fade out into a gray. Those colors fade out really well into colors that suit seniors. We're getting close, you guys. We're getting close to those seniors years. And this week I've gotten a little bit of a kind of a reminder that we're all moving along. Let's see who's here. Hello, Andrew. I'm reminded of what I once heard from actress singer Teresa Russell. Your problems don't go away, they just change. And that's true. Oh my goodness, William is here. Oh my goodness, haven't seen you in a while either, William. How amazing is that? Thank you for popping in today. I'm just going to turn my fan on because I am very hot. Let me know if it interferes in any way with the sound, and then I will turn it off, or I'll redirect it a little place, because we're still technically in a heat wave. We're going back, I think, into the 30s tomorrow. Today we had thunderstorms all morning and all afternoon. And so it's very humid now, and the temperature has risen quite a bit since that rain and thunderstorms that we had this afternoon. So you can see it in my top lip, even though I've had a shower to help me cool off and freshen up a little bit. It is still awfully, awfully hot. And that's true, Andrew, right? It was the best of times. It was the worst of times. You guys, my sister got her hospital date. She's going in for her quadruple heart bypass on Friday. The whole family, well, my sister Alice, she's not going to be in the province. She's going to another province. Uh, my brother-in-law is in a band, so she usually travels with him when he has the opportunity to play. We'll message her. We'll keep her updated in what's going on. But it's going to be a very long day for everybody on Friday. But my heart goes out to my sister Tracy, who is stressing out more than anything. And there's nothing really any of us we can do or say, even though we did try, right? I've been messaging her and, right, keeping that upbeat intention towards what's going on, trusting that none of us really have a say, right? I got my friend Shelly. She's gonna pray to Jesus and pray to God tonight. I've been sending out that good cheer. I did a little bit of praying myself, not really understanding who or what I was really praying to because I am non-denominational. But I said a little bit of a prayer and I directed it, at the Marys, right? I had a kind of a little bit of epiphany because not being a religious person, I do have a couple of I may have a few. Yes, I have three because I have a painting too of Mary and baby Jesus. But, it's in my interest too to the dragons. And I didn't realize that the dragons and the Marys were kind of intertwined in their symbolism. I never took it into consideration, about symbolism and things that I collected and things that I had. But, I kind of get curious about things that come across my path. And I went, oh my goodness, I did start saving the Mother Marys and the Jesuses. And one of them I sent off to Andrew because I have the pair to the one that Andrew has. I had two of them, so I sent one to him. But I have carvings and I have paintings and, my crystals and my dragons, they all are kind of symbolisms for the Marys. And I say the Marys because there were a few Marys. The only Mary that I ever knew was Mother Mary, who gave birth to Jesus in a manger. I didn't realize, right, that there was Mary Magdalene, and there was Sophia, and there was, oh my goodness, I can't even, right? My curious mind comes across my path, and I go off and I read a little bit, and I thought, you know what? Maybe Mother Mary, right? We'll pray to the Marys, and one of them will pick it up, and Tracy will be good to go, right? I trust that things come across my path for a reason. I trust things come across my family's paths for a reason too. So we're going to be very, very busy this week. Oh, hi, Eugene. It's my Hawaiian muumuu. I have a short muumuu. It's over 50 years old. It's actually from the 60s or 70s. They were very popular. They were like tourist items when you went to Honolulu in the 70s, right? And the ladies would always pick one up. It was never used, and it ended up in the little thrift store that I worked at. And so I picked it up, and it has to be my favorite sundress. I have a couple of favorite sundresses, but to actually keep me cool, because it is 100% cotton, and it's such a good, durable shape for being over 50 years old that, yeah, I really love it. Thank you for saying so. So yes, Tracy's going into the hospital on Friday. So Andrew, I know you've been throwing out a prayer there for my sister Tracy. So if you want to do another one, I will be at the hospital with my other sisters all day on Friday. They say it's going to be a 4 or 5 hour surgery. her surgeon says not to worry about it, that everything was going to be okay. It's not like when that operation had to happen for my father, and this is what the big scare is for my sisters, the fact that my father had the same operation and it didn't work for him. Congenital heart disease runs in our family. It's one of those diseases. I am grateful for my good health. It could have been a different story, right? For sure, I would have been a diabetic if I hadn't had a gastric bypass, right? They take out the duodenum. The duodenum is the gland that actually processes sugar. So sugar just comes in my system and goes out my system. So it's impossible for me to get diabetes. But they now discovered that Alzheimer's is a form of diabetes. I have cut out sugar. I haven't had any sugar now in 3 weeks. I haven't had any bread at all in 3 weeks. The only carbs in my house that I do use is the potatoes. I have potatoes, I have rice, and I have Bisquick for the emergency when I just have to have a carb or I'm going to go run off to the store and get me some bread. I haven't had that need or that feeling or desire to do that, but that Bisquick is there, and yeah, so I'm doing pretty good. I'm losing a little bit of weight, but it's not in the intent to lose weight. It's just in better taking care of myself. And I'm looking at this Friday when my sister has that operation, that this is, an opportunity for her to start anew, right? Doesn't matter how old you are. You can change your life in an instant and go down a different route, right? I'm not done. For sure, I'm not done. There are going to be lots of changes in my life. There are changes in my life in this moment. Some really good ones, though, to do. Like, again, it's the best of times. It was the worst of times, right? And we're getting dental work done. Right. I live in a great country that's going to pay most of it. I pay 20% of whatever it comes out to, but I'm going to still save a couple of $1,000 in dental work. And I am grateful for that. Let me have a sip of my coffee. It's really hot. I had just enough time when I got out of the shower to make myself a cup of coffee. If you can see, I got my setup back to the way it was. It didn't work for me, the new camera. It was not yeah. And it was probably not the camera. It was probably a Cindy issue and not really a technical issue, right? It was Cindy's technical issue. And, I like this setup. I like working at my desk, and I didn't want to have, a studio set up in the middle of my living room because this is my living space. Well, Friday happens to be August 1st, and August 1st is my sister's Tracy's birthday. So I'm looking at this operation coming up on Friday as the most magnificent birthday present that she has ever had in her entire life. She would probably say the contrary, but that's the fear and that's the worry, right? That's the fear and the worry. And I am optimistic, that everything is going to be okay. Everything is going to work out the way it's supposed to work out. And that's the truth. Sometimes you just have to leave things in the hands of the professionals and in the hands of, right, whoever or whatever. I am non-denominational, right? But I believe what you think about is realized, And there are so many different religious out there and spiritual ideas out there. And I have to give that respect to all of them and in respect to all of them, right? Right. And it's not that I don't want people to be agitated at me, but for me, it's a better way of having a level playing field. Like we have here on Sunday nights, we have our values, right? We're all on the same page, and people step out of boundaries and say something not nice or something inappropriate, then somebody else goes in there and takes the comments out. And it's watching out for each other that way. And in that evidence of how we, right, hang out together on Sunday nights, it doesn't take long, does it, for people to catch on to what kind of evening that we have and what kind of relationships that we have with each other, right? This is Chatters Live. People follow my content, chat more than I do on Sunday nights. But I'm also a part of that crew, right? It's just that in this moment, I'm not sitting in the chair across from you. Well, technically, I may be, right? In this time that we're living right now, we're this close to each other, aren't we? We're this close to each other. And I think that's pretty amazing that I have been able to pick up these friends along the way. And again, hello Eugene and Andrew and Owen. Hello Owen, and William is here. You guys, I still have not heard from Melvin. I've been giving him a thought because when I do my lives, he's always been so consistent, especially in my What's My Good Cheer, my Monday to Friday show. And because, he is mature, but not so mature, right? And I don't think I ticked him off. I think me and him have been close enough over the past few years that we've come to appreciate each other. And I think if he was ticked off with me, we all know Melvin, he would just come in and give me a piece of his mind. He wouldn't just walk away without saying anything. And so, when I include my sister in those considerations of those prayers, and it is in the effort, right? And maybe it is something that needs to be done more in my life. I take all things into consideration. I take them seriously too, and I do realize, right, that there is something or someone greater than all of us dictating what's going on and what's been going on, right? And this is why I don't worry about these characters in our world that are just creating havoc and hurting people, because I understand nothing goes on without whoever's in charge, right? Knowing about it. And so, right, I just leave it up to that and just be in my own lane in that. And it doesn't hurt, right? Like again, I've been asking people to give my sister a little bit of attention in there, right? If they talk to Jesus or they talk to God. And I know some of my audience, the majority of my audience does, right? Even William is actually a pastor in his church, and Andrew, I know he loves God, right? We even have a padre. Is it a padre, Andrew? Uh, no, a Franciscan monk, Father David, and he is in South America. He lives in South America, I do believe, in Mexico City. And, and every once in a while, right? And I don't know everybody's professions, and I don't know everybody's religious or spiritual ideas, right? Sometimes in being non denominational, that is something personal to each person. It's just that, right? We accept each other for who we are. We're moving along with values. And I am so grateful for my Christian friend Shelley, who's been praying for my sister Tracy, and she does it much better than I do, and she has that direct connection, I do believe, and her whole family is religious that way. I'm going to say Christians, and they are absolutely amazing. And I'm very privileged, right, to call them friends, right? And yet I have people who are agnostic, and my nephew is very much a Christian, and my sister Tracy, she believes in God, but she's not quite sure. We have none of us girls. I have three sisters. There's four girls in my family. None of us have been baptized in any way. My parents agreed that it was going to be a choice by each one of us if we wanted to do that. I don't believe any of us have been baptized. None of us in this moment is going to church, even though I thought last night that maybe I should offer to go to church with my sister Tracy today. And then I thought, no, I don't even want her to leave the house. I don't want her to exert any energy at all. And we're all getting together because her operation is on her birthday. So we're going to get together on Tuesday. And even then, I didn't want to have her come out and celebrate her birthday because it's just the energy that it takes. I would just like her to rest and, right. But I understand sometimes you have to get away from what's on your mind, right? And I'm sure 100% my sister is somebody that stresses out, and she's not a big fan of doctors and surgeons and hospitals, but she's going to do what she has to do. And so I'm very proud of her. Okay, let me just tie my hair up now that it's dried a little bit, and we'll just dry it on the side here so I don't break it tonight. Um, how are you guys doing tonight? Tell me how your week has gone. Have you had a little bit of mishmash of good and bad? It seems like, that's the way it's going this week. I have been hanging out by myself for the most part. And I feel that this week coming up is just like every day I've got something. I've got something going on. Oh, I look like that girl from Beverly Hillbillies, Mary Lou or Mary Ann, or I don't know what her name was. You can pipe it out. But yeah, that'll just be perfectly fine for me. And then that way, when my live show is over, I'll tie it in a bun or something so that it's all fresh and ready to go tomorrow. I'm off tomorrow with my sister because of the Canadian dental plan that they just initiated here in Canada. Right? Oh my goodness, I'm so grateful. It's for low incomes, and my sister, right? She's a reseller, but she technically is low income, and she's been trying to get on the program, but she's jumping through hoops and that, and so she's got to go down to the civic building, where you go to get your marriage papers and your marriage license and your birth certificates and social insurance cards. So she's got to go and get some work done, but she doesn't like to drive downtown in any way. So she's going to come and pick me up, and I'll drive her downtown and wait for her while she's getting her business done. I'll probably walk in with her too. We'll just park the car, put some money in the meter, and we'll go in together. It'll probably take her a little while in the paperwork. And then Tuesday, like I said, we're all going to go out for breakfast. Me and my sisters and a couple of friends of my sister. And it's an opportunity for us to spend a little bit of time with each other, which he has been trying to do with each one of us. Like last week, me and her, we went to go see Superman. Oh, I was so sick the next day from eating so much popcorn. Oh my goodness. I ate a lot of popcorn. But it was delicious, and it's a once in a while thing. I hadn't seen a movie in over a year, like no movies at all. I'm all about the documentary, mindset lessons, you know, lessons in different topics that really interest me, that impact me in a way that makes it so that I have a better understanding. And in having that better understanding, I'm hoping, right, that this Friday truly is a beautiful birthday present for my sister, right? I worry about my family, right? I really do. Everybody has issues when they mature as they get older. And I suspect, right, mine will be shortly coming. And in that, right, riding those waves, I'll be okay. Why will I be okay? Because I have been graced with such good health. I really, really have. My entire life, it's been pretty much Charlie horses, right? And my weight issues. But other than that, my health has been amazing. I even freak the doctors out when they send me for those tests for my arteries and stuff, and they all come out perfect, and they look at me like, right, your arteries should be absolutely clogged. And I can tell, right? They always have this look of shock on their face when my blood work comes back. And again, I don't know what it is. It just worked out that way for me. And I have not been kind to myself health wise, especially in eating the sugars, in being overweight, in the amount of stress that I have taken on in the course of my entire life. But, as an adult, right, that stress is tenfold. But because when you're a kid, right, you don't worry about things like that. That's your parents' problems. It's their job to worry about things. I never worried about anything growing up except, right, being in the sight of fire. But in truth, yeah, it's the stresses, once you hit the workforce, then you have the bills, and then you have, right, just one problem after another. But, I never had those real health issues. I did, like I said, have problems with my weight. I did have Charlie horses, but that was that was on me. I did that to myself. It wasn't something that was inherited. It wasn't something in an accident or anything. I knew exactly what I was doing when I was overeating. And we do these things to ourselves so much. That sugar, if I hadn't had the gastric bypass and lost all that weight, for sure, like I said, I would have had diabetes. More than likely, I wouldn't have been here right now. I would have had the same kind of issues as my sister. But they recently found out, right, that Alzheimer's is a form of diabetes. Isn't that interesting, right? And the first thing I thought of was my short-term memory. I go, oh my goodness, right? Because I ate so much sugar, and then I get myself in that mode. But I don't process sugar at all. It just goes in and goes out, and that's the way it's been for the last 20 years, more than 20, more than 20 years now. It's been a long time. That operation served me well. Now, the duodenum, right, is in charge of processing sugar. And you think, well, why not just take the duodenum out of these obese people and then, right, weight will stay off. It doesn't matter how much I eat. I won't get much heavier than what I am now. Um, while if I did not have that operation and eat the way I did, I'd probably, right, be back to my 300 in no time at all. But the reason they don't do they call it a duodenum switch. The reason they don't do it here in North America, they'll do it in Europe, but here in North America they won't do it because it causes malabsorption. And you guys know how dedicated I am to my vitamins and minerals, and I attribute it a great deal to my good health. But you know, it's because of that operation that I had. It's because that I have malabsorption, that I don't absorb vitamins and minerals very well at all. So I take the supplements, right? And that's nothing for me because even as a child, I spent most of my childhood and teenage years on diets, right? And for sure, I would have been malnourished if I hadn't been taking my vitamins and minerals. And my dad had to take them, so they were always in the house. And another thing that I attribute, right? Those just the small things, and you don't think they matter, but they do. This week I went over to my sister's because I didn't realize that she wasn't preparing her body for this big operation coming up Friday. She wasn't taking any nutrients, and not only does she have those heart problems, is that she does have diabetes, right? And she does have that malabsorption, and right, she needs those vitamins. So I took her over the gummy bears, right? Because I thought it was more important for the gummy bears to be absorbed into the system and not worry so much about the sugar going in. I'm just going to stop here for a second and send out some good cheer. Get to your destination, be a false alarm, and get back to the station because they were probably waiting for the thunderstorms and the rain to end today so that they could fire up that barbecue of theirs, right? Get to their destination, turn around, and get right back to the station. If you don't know, I do live behind a fire station. Let me have another sip of my coffee. I just finished dinner. I made a halakchi. Do you guys know what halakchi is? It's like cabbage rolls, but it's lazy man cabbage rolls. You just chop up the ingredients and you put it in a pot, and right, it's just a lazy way of making it. Right. I like my cabbage all shredded, especially when I'm on diets and stuff, because you can use shredded cabbage as a pasta noodle. You can. And it's like spaghetti, and it's absolutely delicious. I make it quite often when I'm on a diet. Right? You're supposed to eliminate the rice, but because I'm limiting the carbs, I'm not eliminating. I am limiting the carbs. I still put some rice in my lazy halakchi. But what a treat that was today, because I've been pretty much living on sausages and eggs and salad for 3 weeks, now. And my walks, oh my goodness, I have been enjoying my walks. With my dentist appointment 6 miles away, I usually take the bus to to the doctor's appointment, to the dentist's appointment, and then I walk home, and that's been my exercise. But we also have a pretty well-known large park along the river close to where I live, and so I do the walks down to the forks. They call it the forks. I also pick different routes for going for a coffee after my live show tonight. I will go for an evening walk and go get myself a cup of coffee and kind of limber up a little bit. Even though I danced a little bit in my living room, I've been trying, right? I keep a playlist on my YouTube. I don't know if you guys say playlist, but it's something that you can do on your YouTube channel is create a playlist and all your favorite songs, all your favorite documentaries, all your favorite recipes. I've even got a category that says recipes. I have mindset lessons from some of my favorite creators, and some of those lessons that impacted me so much that it was the evidence that, oh my goodness, right? It's what keeps me going, right? The thing I love so much about mindset is the motivation and the inspiration, which is what this world desperately needs, and what we all need individually sometimes. Otherwise, we can let ourselves down. We can put ourselves on the couch with the remote control and not get anything done, right? And just things that we pick up along the way. But if you didn't know about playlists, yeah, you can create your own playlist. And I have a music playlist, and one of those playlists on my playlist is 80s and 90s music. That's the era that, I was a young adult, in the youth of my adulthood, right? So I'm saying in my 20s, early 20s, mid 20s, even right in my 30s, I worked in bars and nightclubs, and I did that. That was my main career. It was my favorite job, and of all the jobs that I had, and I've had a few good jobs. For the most part, they weren't good jobs. They were jobs, all just a big flock of birds, sparrows, just went right by my window. In my life, I have this idea that something magnificent happens when I see two birds, doesn't matter what kind of birds they are, two birds fly by my window by no more than 3 or 5 feet. They have to be very, very close. Then I know something magnificent is about to happen. So I'm looking forward to seeing just two birds. It can't be a flock of birds, because that's what drew my attention. Because I saw the first two, and then right behind them was a whole flock of sparrows, and they went right by my window. I thought that was so cool. It just took my attention right off the hop. Okay, let's see what everybody is saying tonight. Yeah, I don't know who Teresa Russell is, Andrew. Can you tell me a movie that she was in, or a show that she was in? If it was like Broadway, or right, if she was a Broadway actress or something, I don't know. 100 Fahrenheit. Oh, Andrew, I have to tell you, because I suspect that you're going to get the same weather as Ontario, and it's going to be pretty volatile for the weekend coming up. They're saying in the next few days they are going into a heat wave. The heat wave that just is supposed to be leaving our province and going into Ontario, or just starting to go into Ontario, it's going to get really, really hot, and it's going to last quite a while. But if it's anything like it was when it came into our province here, we had a couple of tornado warnings in that, and there was lots of thunder and lightning. I'm very surprised at this moment that I can actually see downtown. I don't know if they're getting some control over the wildfires here in Manitoba, but there isn't as much smoke as I thought there would be. I thought with that rain, you know what it looks like when the water hits the flames, it just turns into smoke. I just thought with that rain, it would help tremendously with killing out those fires, but at the same time that it would kick up that really heavy smoke that's really quite been suffocating in the city. People have been walking around with face masks even. I haven't. I don't know if it's the idea that, I'm just a diehard, or I'm just a silly girl who's not paying attention or taking care of herself, right? It's just not in the vitamins, and it's all aspects. I wanted even to get another booster shot for the flu should it come. I want to be prepared in that, and because I don't have bad reactions to it, I right, and I've never had that flu. That it hasn't come across my path. I suspect it has something to do with being an introvert and not having a lot of people around me. But I have to say, I served hundreds of people every single day in that job, in that little thrift store that was putting the roof over my head. And we only had a little plastic barrier. And everybody that I worked for got sick except for one lady. And she had to be exceptionally careful because even though she's the same age as me, she's not well, and her mother refused to take the vaccinations. So she had to be exceptionally careful in her interactions at work. And yeah, she did it. Neither her or her mother got sick when we had those flus running rampant in the world, right? And yeah, but it's always best to pay attention to our well-being, and it's not in doing that fortune telling to say, oh, it's going to hit us again. No, that's not why I do, because it's actually beneficial for other flus and stuff, right? So and I have been taking my boosters, and so I want to make sure that I stay boosted, right? That I didn't start that whole process just to give up on it. And even though nothing's going on in this moment in the world, and I'm grateful again that I have not been seriously sick. That I got food poisoning a couple of times this year, right? I ended up in bed for a couple of days in one, and the other one, right? It just stayed in my gut and in my back, and so again that one just lasted a day. And but these things again happen. It doesn't mean that I don't have good health. It just means that I could have better health if I paid a little bit of attention, right? As we all can. So I carry on with my vitamins. I carry on with my walks. I keep the bread and the sugar, right? Uh, I do have sugar in the household, but I haven't touched it at all. I don't even have that desire to touch the sugar. I was only using that sugar for my cookie fixes, right? Where I'd say no carbs, and then I look in my cupboards and I have no carbs. I go, that's okay. I've got flour, eggs, and baking soda, and I would make cookies to get out of my fixes. Well, if I have a fix, well, guess what I get to do? I get to boil a potato, or I get to make a Bisquick biscuit, right? And that's what's going to have to tie me over to get me through that hump. And it does work. Sometimes, most of the time, that desire for what's not good for us, when it comes to that bad eating, it's only in our minds, right? We're only appeasing our emotional, right? Need to consume, right? Because if I'm busy, I don't even think about it, right? I can go all day on a cup of coffee and then remind myself when I get home it's time to eat, right? It's time to have a bowl of ice cream. Oh my goodness. I haven't had any ice cream and I haven't had any cream now in 2 weeks. I feel so much better with the cream, right? Gone. I know for sure the cream was causing me problems. And I knew it was probably not good for my liver because that's what happens when you become lactose intolerance becomes difficult on your liver. I think it's a liver. Kidneys, no livers. Livers. Yeah. But 100 degrees. Oh my goodness, Andrew, that is hot. We didn't even get to 37 Celsius in this little span of heat wave that we got into. We got into about 30, 31 or 32 degrees is as hot as it got. But oh my goodness, it was hot. I was emptying the pan in my air conditioner twice a day, 3 times a day. I was doing that. Today I've already done it twice. If you hear that beep 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 during my live show, that's letting me know that it needs to be emptied. I emptied it when I woke up. I emptied it at 2 o'clock, kind of hoping that this is good until I go to bed tonight, but I don't know. That was an awful lot of rain today that we had. The streets flooded, and I love storms. I love the rain. And it was a good day today to do that, because my sister is right spending time with her family in conversation, if not in person, and she enjoys the rain too. She enjoys the thunderstorms, so it's good for her to have that little bit of sense of peacefulness, because if she's anything like me in that connection, she's not as big on mother nature as I am, but she does love the crazy weather that she could look out her bed or front room window or bedroom window and have her system calm down a little bit, because she does enjoy the rain that way. And again, if anybody wants to throw her a good thought, she sure could use it. Like I said, the surgeon says not to worry. He's done lots of these, and that he considers her a very good candidate for the operation. But again, right, because of what happened with my father when my father had that operation, right, there is that worry. And it's not to take away how scary of an operation it is. It was only 20, 25 years ago when my father went in for a bypass surgery that he only did one or two. She's having four of them done at the same time, but it could prolong her life right into a normal old age. She didn't have any choice in that. And when you don't have any choices, at least for myself, right, I just leave it to whoever or whatever, and just keep saying to myself, everything is going to be okay, because in the end, everything will be okay. If you don't see me this week, I will at least come in on Sunday night to fill everybody in on what's going on, but maybe during the course of the week, right? Because it will be a stressful week, because I will be sending good cheer from her, for her, from the seats, meaning I will be at the hospital with her. Um, and I am, right, I'm not a big hospital fan, but I know if I was in the hospital, my sisters would come and spend time with me. And it's going to be a little nerve wracking for myself, a little bit uncomfortable, but you know what? I can deal with uncomfortable. And my sister knowing that we are there, that's going to mean everything to her for sure. It'll be kind of like we're all in it together, even though she's the one actually getting that operation. Yeah. So So yeah, that's life, isn't it? And that same idea, if you can't do anything about it, like all you can do is do your best to calm the system down, to keep yourself leveled and balanced, right? For me, if that was me, I would be planning my next vacation, what I was going to do when I got out of the hospital, what changes I was going to make in my life, places I wanted to go, vacations, right? I would I would take it as a new lease, a new beginning. That's how I would look at it. And I am an amazing cheerleader. I do believe for myself, just in that idea that I just don't think. I know everything is going to be okay. I do know that. Is Kathy here tonight? Just gonna pop down here. Oh yes, Kathy's here tonight. You're gonna be so proud of me. Oh my goodness, I'm not proud of myself because it took me forever. It was a big project. I dedicated yesterday to getting my two decks done. One deck is for the oh sorry, this deck is being mailed off to you, Kathy. This was original my original deck of 54 powerful words. They served me well. Just kind of freaked me out a little bit because it seemed like I was pulling up the same cards, when you get the same message over and over again. And the only thing that I could attribute it to was the magic cards, or the fact that I had trimmed them all and that they were all in different sizes. And it was just the fact that I was finding one that was kind of an offside that I noticed it. But I would say just put them in a container and just stick your hand in there like you're pulling a lottery ticket. Pull out a card and just let that be the word of the day, and just look at what crosses your path in the conversations and in the experiences, right? They did serve me well, but I got two new decks done. Actually, you know what? I think on this show I have not pulled a card, right? I have not pulled a card. This is going to be the working deck. This is the one I'm going to be, right, sending to the publishers or the printers. And you can see they're just powerful words. That's all they are. And then, it's just the first perspective, the first impression. Sometimes it's a story, an experience, right? Or just something, right, that's going on in the moment. These are for my live shows. I do them for my what's my good cheer, and it keeps me on topic. It keeps me from coming out of that lane, because I'm everywhere's, right? I've got my fingers and my mind and my heart dipped into all kinds of topics. And so using the powerful words, it keeps me on topic. It keeps me from swaying off into conversations that people just don't get. Sometimes I don't even get them, but I stay with it until I got it. So I'm just going to show you how I do it. This is what I do on my Monday to Friday live show. I usually come in and I let it flow in conversation and the experiences and the topics that come across my path. And then usually what I'll do is, it's my signal. Oh my goodness, you've been yapping so long, Cindy. Get back to the main tree. Grab yourself a card and let's go into it for a couple of minutes. And this is usually what I do. So let's just pick, right? And sometimes I direct a question at it. Sometimes it's in an experience that I had. Tonight, let's just pull a card. I'm going to pull a card for my sister Tracy. She doesn't watch this live show. I'm not quite sure if she watches any of my shows, in all honesty. Right? We all have our own lives, right? And that's our prerogative in our interests, right? And it doesn't mean that I don't love her any less. Okay, you guys, this is going to be the card. Integrity. Integrity is the example that others will follow, right? And that is so true. We all have somebody in our lives that we look out to, right? With integrity. Like the people that come in here and hang out with me and keep me company on Sunday night. Oh my goodness, in that consistency of always showing up, right? It's why I worry so much that I haven't seen Melvin so long, that I'm sending him some good cheer, because it's not like him not to be with us. If not here, for sure on my What's My Good Cheer Fridays, Monday to Friday show. He's always been there. And like I said, I don't think I ticked him off in any way. And sometimes people do move on, because we all change, right? We all change, and life changes, and wrenches get thrown into it and stuff. But we had become friends, right? We had become friendly. And I believe that just as much as he was loyal to me, I was loyal to him. So, in that integrity of, right, and appreciation for the people who show up here, right, even when they're not feeling good, even when they're laid up, even when, right, it's in a hairy, scary situation. Gee, we know who we're talking about there, right, Andrew? Just like to give him heck, because when he is sick, right, put your legs up, relax. Don't even send me an email, Andrew, right? Unless you don't want me to email you after the live show, because that's probably what I would do if Andrew didn't show up here, right? But it is integrity, is that person who keeps their word, who always shows up, has that caring, has that caring heart, and doesn't look at the material, doesn't look at the money, right? Doesn't look at a situation and say, oh my goodness, if I got into that, right, that's going to mess my life. That integrity, right, of appreciating and representing ourselves in a way that we can be. And what I said, integrity is the example that others will follow. It's in building that trust. And I should have said that first, because integrity is something we trust. When we see that somebody has that aspect of themselves, that's what we get drawn to. That's what we'll put our lives into that hand. When we ask for advice, that's the advice that we're going to trust and take. If we need a friend, we need a shoulder to cry on, right? That's the person that is going to be there for you, right? That person who keeps their word and knows the value of the person that's standing next to them, right? Integrity. And that's how I do that. And then in the morning, I usually will pull a card for myself. And like I said to Kathy, that will be the word for today, right? Today I got that word willingness. And willingness has been coming across my path. So this morning I got this willingness. And this willingness is just, right, to be willing to let things go, right? Understanding that we don't have a control for a lot of things, right? That we don't have a say all the time. We can't dictate, right? Even Mother Nature, right? We didn't have in the Weather Channel, nobody was saying thunderstorms today. They were saying cloudy and sun all day, I didn't expect rain. I expected rain yesterday because they said it was going to be a rainy, dreary, thunderstormy day. Yeah, didn't happen. But when I got up this morning, that weather channel changed altogether. You see that smile on my face. I love the crazy weather. But yeah, Andrew, this week is going to be very uncomfortable for you, I suspect. Not so much because it's been hot, but it's the humidity that's coming along with that heat. Right now, the temperature's gone down 1 degree. So, but that's only because the sun is going down now, right? So now I can push my my camera back a little bit, right? Push my camera back a little bit just because, right? The sun sets to the west, and the west shines right into my window. I love looking outside. I don't have any curtains on my windows. I have to be a little bit careful when I'm walking around in my underwear or anything. But yeah, I love being able to look out my window. I love to look out beautiful scenery, the downtown, the trees, and it's my connection to Mother Nature when I'm not actually out in Mother Nature. But yeah, I got that word willingness today. So it is in that willingness that we have to understand that sometimes we don't get a say, right? We don't get a say, and we just have to trust that everything is going to be okay, or at the very least, things are going to work out the way that they're supposed to work out. And if they don't work out, right, then that was the way it was meant to be. And even in that, we have to accept that, right? We have to accept that, but doesn't stop us from trying, does it? Right? I love and appreciate my family. But like I was saying to my friend Shelley when she said, "Oh, we're going to pray," right? Her and her husband and her son, we're going to pray for your sister Trace. I thought, oh my goodness, that's so amazing, right? Because I know they would do so much of a better job than I would, that right? But I've got to do my share in that too. And I think in that support and in showing up and reestablishing myself as a member of that family, as a working member of that family, right? That they can depend on me to be there, that I can be that example in integrity, right? To do what's right. Ooh, that was a pretty good line up to that word that we just pulled, right? Integrity. It's something that I always shoot for, but right, in truth, I bet you I missed the mark lots of times. But it is my intent that I hit it all of the time. And if I can catch my misstep, right, that misstep will stop in its tracks. And that's the truth. Or that, right, that mouth that's going off, I trust that it will just stop in its track. Understanding, right, that I am a work in progress. Okay, so I think we got lots of good cheer out there for my sister Tracy, right? It is a worry, right? Us sisters are really all that we have, even though two of my sisters have children, two of us don't. And because we have been with each other our entire lives, and that's the truth. My sister stepped out for a couple of years when she was younger, and she moved back to BC. But we're all here now, right in this city, and we're all friends. When I was growing up, I was friends with my sister Tracy because we were only a year and a half apart. But my sister Alice and my sister Carolyn, they were way too young for me to hang out with, and I really didn't get to know them and until they were adults themselves. And then that age barrier doesn't seem to be so differential, does it? We're all adults, and I believe we're all pretty close now to being able to make it into our 60s, right? We hit a record. We made it into our 50s in this generation, and that's not the norm. In epigenetically in our family, we usually pass away in our 30s, 40s, 50s again from the obesity and the diabetes and the congenital heart failure. Um, but yeah, I think we are moving out of that. Right, with my amazing brother-in-laws, we got new blood in the family, and my nieces and nephews, they're doing so good for themselves, like so amazing. My niece has just come back from a trip. She traveled all over the United States as a little holiday for herself. She's like me that way. She loves to travel, right? She loves that experience. And I think that's so amazing, right? And I hope she gets to do lots of that over the course of her lifetime, right? If that's what she loves doing, if that's how she loves to spend her life and spend her money, right? Then she should do exactly that. She has a good career too. My niece works for the Canadian Red Cross. Is it Canadian Red Cross? I think she took on a new job or a new position. Not quite sure. It could be a new position in the same organization. She could still be working for the Red Cross. I haven't inquired, but I remember that she was applying for another job. I just can't remember if that job was within the company that she was working in. And she's just going to work the ranks. This is what we do in my family. All of us, right? All of us. We start out in the bottom if we're not offered the top, and we just, as quickly as we can, work to the top. And each one of my sisters are in control of their own lives that way, right? It is, I'm saying control because that's what it is. It's in our hypervigilance. It's in our idea of right, being able to run the show, right? To be depended on to do a good job. For me, it was more the people pleasing aspect because I knew that, people would tend to yell at me if I was calling the shots, right? And that's the truth. I would go into any job and I would work my way up to top. Even when I was working at the bar, right? I was head server, bartender, and I didn't intend to work. That job was so much fun, but it probably was not super good for me because there is lots of vulnerable that are partying and drinking away the troubles in their lives. So there were lots of problems going on there, but I think I was a good friend. And I think a lot of my customers, a lot of my regulars, they considered me a friend. It's the way I grew up. It was my interest and my curiosity in other people's lives, and probably a little bit of living vicariously through other people's experiences, whether it was good or bad. And that's what kept me human. It kept me from being cold and maybe introverted, that maybe I might have had a job behind a desk or staring at a wall, that I wasn't able to interact with other people, because for me, being social, right, is so important, especially as somebody who does appreciate spending time by themselves. And I do. I prefer my own company, in all honesty, to others, but I know it's not good for me, and it will stop me in my movement forward. It would have stopped me from being a part of my family, right? If I was that person who just wanted to be left, I wouldn't be here in Winnipeg, because I'm only here, and I only came to Winnipeg because this is where my family was moving. And so I know for sure that I probably would have been a very lonely woman, right? I spent a lot of time on my own, but I'm not lonely because I do have those relationships in my life. I have these relationships here too, and it's important for all of us to stay social in some way, but we get to pick and choose. And I'm grateful that you guys kind of decided that you were going to hang out with me. I know, I recognize that you guys could be hanging out in other places, that you guys probably have lots of important things to get done, your own projects, your own hobbies, right? People that are close to you, right? That you'd like to have conversations with or meet for coffee. And I'm so grateful that you come and join and keep me company online. And yeah, having a cup of coffee with you guys here. My throat is a little bit raunchy because, right, I am talking a lot. I've been talking to my family, right? I talked to all my sisters today and a couple of my friends. And also, right, that little bit of putting out some good cheer to whoever, whatever that has a say or a helping hand in what my sister's operation is, how it's going to turn out. And I'm sure, I'm positive it's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. However, things happen, right? Or don't happen. It's going to be okay. But I understand that operation is going to be perfect. And I have faith in the doctors and in the science and in the technology that is right, in the innovation that is out there. Things are always getting better and better and better. I'm not a big fan of doctors and hospitals either, but I have no hesitancy in going to see them if I have to, right? The worst part for me with these dentist appointments is I told him to leave it to the very, very end, to the very last day of my dentist appointments. I have, I think, 3 more appointments. The worst part of it for me is the scraping. So I'm getting my teeth cleaned and scaled, but I told them they had to do it at the very end. Like I can, right? I don't like my teeth to be scraped. It comes a little bit from my childhood, because uh, my mother was a big fan of the back scratcher. That was our weapon of choice at the kitchen table. We all ate dinner together, and manners were very, very important. And if you had your elbows on the table, psh, oh yeah, she was like a ninja with that back scratcher. But she didn't like slurping your food. And goodness, if you actually tapped your teeth with your fork, that would make her really, really upset because that's where the dentist bills would come in. Um, right? I'm sure my parents were grateful for the dental plan that they got. They put their family on a trial. We did fluoride drops. It's not good for empaths. Me and all my sisters are empaths, and right, we have that aspect of us. We all have calcified pituitary glands, right? That right, because of all that fluoride we took in those trials. They were trying to figure out where the safe spot was in the fluoride treatment of the tap water in Vancouver in the 60s. It was the late 60s. I think it was 1967. But in going in that trial, my family got free dental for all of us kids until we were 18 years old. Plus, they got all the work done for themselves. But in order to do that, oh my goodness, we took so much fluoride into our system. We took fluoride in our toothbrushes. We gargled with the fluoride. My mom put it even in the baby bottle for my youngest sister who was still a baby, didn't even have teeth yet because they wanted to know if they would affect the the teeth growing in. Oh my goodness. So orange juice. Oh, I remember, right? I used to love orange juice, and then I didn't love orange juice anymore because my mother would put that fluoride. It didn't taste bad because it was just in like an eye drop container, and she put like 5 or 6 drops in them, or on our toothbrush, or in our juice, or whatever. But yeah, the orange juice, I didn't like it when she put it in the orange juice because my dad did the protein. And it's not like the protein drinks that you have these days where it tastes like chocolate milk or strawberry milkshake. These protein mixes. Uh, in our day, it was the most grungiest, bitter powder that you could ever take in, and you put it in the orange juice because that was the strongest thing that you could put it into that would try and cover up the taste, but it didn't do a good job. It didn't. Oh, that stuff was awful. I don't know if you guys ever did the protein powders when you were a kid, but it was something I had to do all the time because, again, like, my parents always had me on some kind of diet, right? It was, to me, punishment. And for me, because I was working, right? I've been working since I was 10 years old. 10 years old, I have been working. And I would just go off and I would spend my money on candy and treats and stuff for myself. Well, I paid rent. As soon as I started working, my parents got $100 every month. And then when I left high school, I think we started paying $250. It's good. It's good for the kids to learn. And I think when it came to economics, that's really all I learned. My parents didn't teach me anything about saving or banks, right? I was making good money at 10 years old. I was making good money babysitting. And I would, as a teenager, even, I even made more money because, right, I'd make $100 on the weekend, and I would start on Friday night and I would come home on Sunday night. And I worked for a lady who had a bunch of foster children, and I would take care of the foster children and take care of the house because she would work the night shift in a restaurant. And I did that for years and years and years and never had any money to show for it. Lots of treats and food hidden under my mattresses, right? My parents knew that where I was spending the money on. But that's what I use to calm my system down, right? I've always been an eater, but I think a part of that eating the way I did, being obese, came directly from my parents' fear of me becoming obese. Because for me, I was always on a diet. And for me, a diet was punishment, right? Right? I couldn't have what everybody else had for dinner or lunch or breakfast. You know, I was always on a diet. I was always limited, right? Couldn't go to restaurants. And if I went to restaurants, everybody's eating steak and I'm eating, right, a couple of eggs or a salad. Grew up on sweetener, still do the sweetener. I can't imagine, most likely, oh, for sure, over 1 million packages in my lifetime of sweetener. When we were kids, we called it sugar twin, sucralose. Now they call it Splenda. Different products, but same thing. None of it was good. I mean, when I grew up, there was that saying that, the sugar twins turned into formaldehyde in your body, and formaldehyde is something that you use to embalm bodies, and that would just freak me out so bad. But, I couldn't do the sugar, right? I couldn't do the sugar, though I did do the sugar. I wasn't supposed to do the sugar, right? But yeah, I grew up on it. I'm still on it now. But it's in that adapt and conquer, right? And because I am a double when it comes to my coffee. I can't have the sugar, so I'll take the sweetener. I really should do the honey even, right? But that would be more beneficial. But it's still, right? It's still sugar in the end. It's just a healthier form of sugar. Maybe not even a healthy form of sugar, just a natural form of sugar, right? I've been watching lots of those bumblebee um, videos on YouTube. You know, the people who have farms and they have the boxes and they pull out the corn cones and stuff, and they harvest the honey and they look for the queens. And these people don't even wear those hazmat suits. Is that what you call them? Those white suits with the masks and stuff, and they handle the bees. They just take their smoke and put them all to sleep, and they just handle bees, right? And they're docile for the most part, right? I don't know why these videos come across my path, but I do sometimes find them interesting, right? I even watch, the people who make the shorts on Instagram where they go to collect the little bee cones that are hanging from the eaves troughs and stuff, and that hang in the trees and stuff in people's yards, and they just go in there, give it a little bit of squirts with the smoke, and then they just pick it up with their hands. They're not even in those suits, right? And yeah, I dabble in all kinds of topics. This week I've been finding it a little bit more difficult, only because again the things that have been going on in my life, and in my family's life, right? And also in the change, right? In the content and in the conversations and in the experiences, right? And plus, there's that stress too, because I've got goals and I got dreams, and I'm checking them off, and right, I couldn't believe that I'm managing. Right, the goal was to get the teeth done this year, and I had no idea how I was going to get it done, and it's being done. And again, I have to throw those gratefuls out there to what a great country that I live in, that our physical and emotional well-being is taken care of to the best of what the government can interact in our lives that way, that makes us feel like they care. I even heard that Donald Trump was saying that he's going to gift the citizens of the state with a little check because they've been making so much money on the tariffs, and they've been finding so much money that has been like squirreled away in different departments and been stolen and stuff, that they've been recouping all this money. And now he's saying that, he's contemplating about divvying out a little bit of money to help people out, like Canada has been doing for their citizens. And that's how you build loyalty, right? It's not just in that little check that he might divvy it out. It's the idea that he actually thought to divvy out. He thought of his citizens that way. Maybe it's a political move, but we know Donald Trump, right? If he can hold on to that money, he would hold on to that money. And I do believe that, his intent is to do right by the country that he's leading. Like, who wants to be remembered as one of the worst presidents ever? And we didn't really give him a chance. Even Canada was saying he's such a stinker and stuff. But our economy in this moment is doing okay, right? And they're attributing it to a little bit to what Donald Trump has been doing with the tariffs and stuff. That it's right, that it was actually his intent, that it's actually falling into place a little bit the way he had hoped. He just signed with Australia a new tariff agreement, I think this morning or yesterday. I was reading a little bit about that, and maybe it might not be as bad as everybody was anticipating. Maybe he isn't as bad as what everybody was expecting him or thought he was, right? That sometimes we just have to give people time to rub us well. Sometimes, right? You got to make a mess to clean a mess. I am a big believer in that. And he had a big mess to clean up, and I can appreciate somebody who's being beaten down and not given a chance even to prove himself to be able to do a good job, right? Sometimes we have to shut off the emotions to do something that's going to hurt in the short term. And he said it himself, right? In the short term, it's going to be uncomfortable, but in the long term, it might be just what you guys needed. Now, I'm not a big political fan in that, but I do recognize catalysts when I do see catalysts, and again, in accepting, that we don't get to have a say in everything, that we got to trust that everything is going to be okay. And wouldn't that be amazing if the citizens who most desperately need not a handout, right? Not sympathy or pity, but actually a fair understanding that, right, it's still a recession that we're in, and right, like our Nancy having those difficulties, right, and losing pension money and stuff, and having cutbacks that, you know maybe she would even warm up a little bit. And I know she's listening on her phone to the podcast, right? But or to the live show. It's not a podcast today, it's just the live show tonight. But right, I hope for Nancy, at the very least, that she's going to get a little bit of a windfall, right? A little something come into her household that will make her smile and maybe think less negatively about what does she call him? The red faced man? Yeah, what she thinks of the red faced man. Okay, so let's go back here just a second and see where we are at. Um, um, I can't do it right this moment. Uh, can you message me on Instagram, Eugene? Can you message me on Instagram and send me the link, and I will just follow it from there. Because maybe I can come in after my live, because I do save the chat for Sharon, and for Melvin if he comes in, and for the people that do appreciate my content, and but they just hang out in the background so that they're not sitting up front, but they hang out with us too. But it's just in our conversation, so that they get to miss all of us, right? Because it's just not the Cindy show on Sunday, even though I'm the only one chit chatting with the mouth. But you guys are in the chat here too. So yeah, just go to my Instagram, Prairie Dodgers on Instagram, and just send me a message, and then could you said also, Eugene, that you do live shows, and I would be happy to come and join you in one of your live shows. I don't know what your topic of discussions are, but I would be more than happy to come in and have a conversation with you in one of your lives. But yeah, if you don't message me, I'll try to remember to come into my live tonight. And the time stamp on that is 5 after 9. Oh my goodness. Right? Last week too, it felt like I had just started my live, and there we were at 9 o'clock already. I went, oh my goodness, that really did feel like 5 minutes. That didn't feel like an hour and a half in any way. I know sometimes I come in and I'm 5 minutes late or not, but it really did feel like time flew. And tonight it feels the exact same way. But what I'm going to do is come back in, pick that up, get your channel subscribed to you, and then I'll send you a message. Sorry, my throat is really scratchy today. I'll send you a message and we'll set up a time to go live with each other. This week is a little bit crazy town for me in appointments and in family matters. And thank you so much for all the well wishes for Tracy, and in advance for the prayers for Tracy. I know everything is going to be just fine, right? We are a team, right? We are family, and we support each other in our struggles. And this is a big one. This is a really big one. I think this is the biggest one that has ever happened within our family, besides, right, what happened with my dad. So it's important for us to stay tight and to motivate, not motivate physically, right, but motivate and inspire, right, each other, and help each other get through whatever difficult things that we have to get through. Like I said, right, it was the best of times, it was the worst of times, and that's the truth. Kathy, your cards are all done. I changed the wording, not the message, but the wording in a few of the cards. So I redid a few of the cards, but I thought because I was doing them for the two fresh decks, my new working deck and the deck that's going for production, that I would do the same thing before I sent your deck off. I hope you get lots of use out of them. Like I said, right? The way the cards showed up in my life, they hit home, and there's such good mojo in them. And I hope they work just as well for you as they did for me. Lots of love put into them for sure. A whole year. Took me over a year to get them done. And the cards, well, you guys know I've been yabbering about getting them done for over a month now. And yesterday I sat down at my desk and I just spent 8 hours. Like, it was exactly 8 hours when I finished. And I thought, oh, I put in a whole shift on those. But I did a little bit more because it was the way I organized them that I didn't have to go looking for the cards, because the next card was right on top. So I'm glad I organized them the way I did. That saved me, oh my goodness, that probably saved me 3 or 4 hours for sure in what I was doing. So just come up here just to make sure I didn't miss anything. Where did I leave off with Andrew there? And everybody saying hi. I saw a new name in here tonight. Who did I see in that? I saw somebody new pop in to my live there, and I wanted to take note while I was yapping to. There it is. Oh, it's held for review. Held for review. That's going to be Melvin talking about my clothes. I'm going to take a look. Oh, it was taken right out. I'm sure it was Melvin talking about my outfits or my shoes. And yeah, you guys, yeah, that's the way we work out here. That's how we roll. I just thought it was a new person that I hadn't met yet coming into my live. And yeah, awesome. Okay, you guys, I think that's it for tonight. Thank you so much for popping into my life. I know it's a new alarm, Andrew, on the fire trucks. They got new equipment. It's been freaking me out a little bit. I'm not quite used to the new sound of the fire trucks. It's very, very high pitched, and the sound is consistent. It doesn't go woo, woo. anymore. It just goes ooh, straight across. So it's going to take me a little bit. It's about 2 weeks now, and it still catches me by surprise. Oh, here's Andrew says Teresa Russell was in American movies in the 80s, went to England and became a singer. Miss Russell was in a movie called Black. Oh, yes, yes, yes. I remember her. It was remade to The Black Widow, wasn't it? In the late 70s, it was remade again. I can't remember the lady's name who did it, but she used to do scary movies. I remember that. She was a scary movie queen in the movies. Uh uh yeah, everybody, eat healthy, take care of yourself. Thank you for all the good wishes for my sister Tracy. I'll keep you updated on Sunday. Saturday, yeah, I won't have any answers for anybody because Friday's the operation for sure. I won't be going live on Friday. Saturday, I usually take off. Sunday, I'll be back, you guys, because then I'll have an answer. And if Andrew could show up with critical illness, I could show up too. You guys, have a great night. Have a great week. Keep yourself cool, Andrew, in that heat wave that's coming your way. I don't think it'll get to the East Coast because I think the wind will send it south and it won't make it to Nova Scotia. But if it does, oh my goodness, there's a lot of moisture in this heat wave. So keep yourselves hydrated and out of the sun if you possibly can, because oh my goodness, it beat me down a little bit. And, coming home and taking my walks at the hospital or from the dentist and stuff. So yeah, be careful, right? Remember, we're not young chickens anymore, even though we'd like to think we are. Okay, you guys. See you next Sunday.